Like,
Oh yeah, I think it was devastation footage. You're making fun of a certain religion. I think
Uh,
this one should make all the Christians in the crowd
oh yeah,
happy.
yeah. The
oh,
oh, was it the glory hole joke? Wanting to, wanting to start a Christian donut shop called the Glory Hole.
uh, that's right. That's right. And they wouldn't understand what it means.
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so thanks for being on Zoom. So, what I want to do on this, like I wrote a bunch of things in my review. I think you saw it.
Yes, awesome
Um,
review.
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
I
Thank you very
do not listen to this kind of music, like
Yeah.
until I do, right? So, just so I get the background, so each of you wrote different songs on this. You intended it to be a solo project.
I don't. Well,
No, it's just the long song was intended to be a split album with another band, but they were ready to go way before we were. So we missed that window. So we were like, okay, well, let's just record another side of the album and we'll have a new album. And to do that, we're like, let's all three take a song. I'll write a song, you write a song, and you write a song.
Okay.
We only got to write 2 more songs together to fill that side of the album.
right.
So we all kind of had homework to do, and we all wrote a song,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just had the we did the other 2,
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, okay, now we got a full album.
Right.
Okay.
But there's probably about 2 months in between
Yeah,
side 2 and side
yeah.
1.
There was like split. We were doing shows. We have a drummer on each side, a different drummer on each side. I mean, it's almost like a tale of two things.
Yeah.
But because one was, like he said, intended to be a split, and so, but I think it came out well together as because some of the stuff on the first side showcases weirdness in little spurts, and it's almost like kind of gearing you up for there only might be some weird stuff on the second
like some
side.
foreshadowing.
Right.
Yeah, but we had to start the album out with 2 punches to the left and a right, like right in the face.
and that's what you did. And I want to correct one mistake I have done. Usually, lately, I don't know why, I wait until like 11 minutes into the video before anybody introduces themselves. So if you guys don't mind, I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. Who's up first?
I'm Richie. I play guitar.
I'm Travis. I do the vocals.
I'm Mike. I play the bass.
Yes, you do play that bass, and I'm tempted to I like really want to do like 20 minutes on the bass alone. A couple questions first. Fingers or pick?
I do both. Like if I'm doing a bunch of triplets, I'm grabbing my pick, and sometimes like this muscle right here will like just gets real swollen up, and I can't hardly hang on to my pick. So then I'll play with my fingers for a while till it goes down, then I'll grab my pick again. It's just mainly whatever part of my hand is hurting less is what I use.
Ungodly bass playing throughout the whole thing.
Thanks, man.
When I isolate and I try to, I'm like, how the hell is he doing that? And it's so articulate. And whoever did the recording of this album,
Also,
no, another band self-recording. I love the trend. That there are a lot of things, frequency masking. You're both playing in the same region, and yet the bass is so articulate from the guitar. So hats off to you, man. Good job.
Thanks.
yeah.
We all worked real hard on that, man.
Yeah, I noticed. Are we allowed to know who the split was going to be with and what label, anything at all? Because I know the Gravehuffer geeks, this would be a trivia question at some point.
Right. It was with a band, a band called Murder Van, and they're
From Atlanta?
I think they're like Atlanta area.
Yeah, they were awesome, and they're really cool guys too.
And Black Doomba was going to put out the split, so
that's the label.
we even had cover art for it and everything. Like it was as close to a done deal as you could get.
But we were just taking us longer because we were playing shows instead of focusing on recording, and we should have been.
And they were ahead of
Yeah, they were way ahead of us. So.
Like
They
they were
already
like
had
mixed
songs
mastered
done and stuff. So
ready. Yeah,
it wasn't meant to be because we
Yeah.
weren't ready for
We
it.
just didn't want them waiting for us, and so we're like, "Look, guys, we backed out of that."
yeah.
That's too bad. Black Doomba is the label that came out of nowhere for me. It was last year. I've never paid them any mind. How did you hook up with Black Doomba?
I think I was just friends with Tommy on Facebook for whatever. I don't even remember how that happened, but actually, I think I remember his wife Laura. Like I saw her, she posted something about like button making or something, and that's how I got to meet Tommy, was through her. I kind of forgot all about that, but we were gonna have her do some merch for us or something, and then when she said who her husband was, I was like, oh wow, So I hit him up, and at first he was like, well, I want to keep it just Doom, and I don't really want to go outside of that genre. And then he had a change of heart and decided he wanted to work with us, and so yeah, we're on our second record with him.
Yeah, it's a good idea he changed his mind. I mean, along with Minerva, that I knew Minerva, I just didn't know Black Doomba. And it's like, holy crap. And then I bump into Grave next door. By the way, all the graves. Question, is Grave the new goat?
Oh, yeah.
Probably. It wasn't at the time, though.
Yeah. No.
Now it seems like we see, it's kind of like when you get a brown car.
I geek out on metal, so I still do that metal splaining thing, where you go, it's like, right. It's one thing I've learned. So Black Doomba, they seem to have a tremendous amount of support for the bands.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean social media, just kicking everybody's butts. They have the purple and the green. And so a Black Doomba when it's coming out, thanks to how often they're on. Has that made a big difference for you all in your career?
Yeah, I think I think it's helped a lot.
I think that was part of the draw. Was that he said that's part of them of joining the label, is that you got to say that you're going to help promote the other bands too, not just your band, but his label and the other bands. All the other bands are doing the same thing.
Oh,
so it's like everybody's helping each other, It's pretty cool.
That's how we build the scene, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that was the most obvious question. Does support from your label help?
Well, we've been there where we sent a label a lot of money, and like we get really bad returns on it,
Right.
So this is nothing like that. This is he likes us involved in every step of it. He's like, we're like, well, we already have an artist that does our covers. Like, he's like, man, he's like, awesome. He's like, I love that you guys want to be in it every step of the way. Like, he promotes that,
And he's a busy dude. It's not like, he's playing in 17 different bands right now.
Right. Yeah.
Once you know who he is and where he comes from, he's like all over the place. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Let's go back in history a bit. Gravehuffer. What the hell? It is such an iconic name. And by the way, my nerves are through the roof because I've known about you guys for a long time. Again, not my cup of tea generally, but I'll get to why that's changed. Gravehuffer, where does that come from? Who came up with that brilliant flipping idea?
Well, as a friend of ours, he was like this, like a rockabilly guy.
Okay.
And he also promoted shows, and he was putting together his own like psychobilly band. And we were at the time looking for a new band name. We've been kicking some around for like 6 months, trying to find one. And I was with our old singer. He lived with them. And we're sitting there one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to make a new band, and I'm going to call it Gravehuffer. And I was like, a rockabilly band named Gravehuffer? And he's like, yeah, it's going to be kind of like the Misfits type of thing. So I was like, oh, okay, I get it, But then the band never, like they had like one practice and nothing ever happened. So then, like a couple of months later, I go, "Hey, are you guys playing any shows or anything?" He's like, "No, it just never worked out." And so I said, "Well, what are you gonna do with that name?" And he's like, "Do you want it?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "I want free merch for life." So every once in a while, he shows up at a show and he's like, "I don't have that, and I don't have that." We're like, "Here you go."
There you go. Yep.
You gotta love our scene. That's the way it happens. I can't imagine, other bigger pop bands, changing names for merch. So when you started out, what genre did you care about genre at all ever?
No, because we listen to everything. Like I was an old skateboarder, so like you go to the ramp and you get, you might take a couple of tapes to put into the stereo, and somebody else would bring. You're constantly every day getting turned on to like hardcore thrash. Someone would bring some reggae. Someone would bring some Dio. Someone would bring some Sabbath. So you're just constantly being bombarded with all this different music at the time. You know how tapes were. You just take it home and high speed dub it.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go,
Yeah.
So we just listen to everything. And I think that's what caught when we write. I don't look at it as like, it's kind of like a no border policy when it comes to music to me. Like if someone handed me a sitar, I'd probably try to write something on it.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm reviewing, it's like, it's almost an obligation. I have to kind of identify what it is.
Sure.
Which gets quite a bit challenging. I've come up everything from crust punk to black metal to some serious hardcore references, and then cosmic doom. It's like all over the place.
Cosmic doom.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get to why I say that too, and I don't. There's a reason I'm wearing the ob shirt.
Yeah, cool shirt, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, the girlfriend calls it the vagina shirt because of the logo on it is, which it goes right in line with his way of thinking. So I don't know if I'll be keeping that in or putting that out. At least I didn't show my white ugly belly. So when you started out, what was it like starting out? Because where do you find an audience for what you guys do?
Well, I mean, a lot of the crowd is like metalheads and punkers, and then, but when we did send stuff off for reviews, we got trashed a lot. People saying, "Oh, these guys haven't found their sound yet. These guys need to stick to one genre or whatever."
Oh yeah.
And we're like, "Dude, we're old. We've been playing this shit for a long time. I think we found our sound."
Yeah.
Right. It's just a stew of like all of our influences,
And did you all have similar influences, or do you all bring something different to the table?
I think we all bring something different.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
I mean, we all share a lot of the same influences, but there are some that are like more dominant in each of us, I guess, that when we write, that's what tends to come out. Like my stuff's a little more like classic metal or whatever. And like Mike, sometimes, his stuff's a little more like hardcore.
Hardcore punk
but it's funny, like I know sometimes when you'll write a riff and then I'll play it, but maybe the pick attack's a little different. I was like, that's metal as fuck, and I don't think we're
sometimes he doesn't do the same gallop as me.
Yeah.
I'll accent like more like a Mob 47 or and then he'll do it a little different. I'm like, I didn't write that riff. He's like, yeah, you did. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just weird how they get flip-flopped like that.
Do you still do that, and do you do that on the recording? Because there have been times where I realize the bass isn't following the exact same rhythm part, and it's one of a criticism I have of bass players is we should do a little bit more than play the root fifth. Do something more interesting, and so.
Oh yeah.
So good. I'm glad to know I'm not wrong about that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all the time. I was I think you did that more on this latest record than any of our other stuff.
Well, more likely, I listen to the guitar tells me, okay, this is the fence of the yard, basically.
Okay.
The drums are telling me this is the foundation I'm building on. And so I have the whole yard to play in, you know what I mean? And so mainly I lock in with the drums and try to get a good punk or like just a good heavy foundation that mixes with the guitar really well, you know? Because, a lot of times he's down picking something and I'll be doing something totally different.
Yeah. Right. And it can get confusing, especially the amount of noise that you guys throw into it. And then I can only imagine what it's like coming up with the vocal line, hey, I got to outdo these guys. And then you do.
Well, I have the advantage of it being there in front of me and being able to kind of go with my first instinct on stuff because the foundation's there. So in some ways, I've got the easiest part of the creative process because it's already there for me.
You got to write words, though.
Yeah. The words are the toughest part. The where to put them, to me, comes naturally. Is because I've listened to music for so long.
Right.
And this is the first band I've been a vocalist in. It's like, up to this point, I've like played keyboard or guitar or something.
Oh.
And, yeah.
So there is a little structure behind the madness. I thought there was.
And I always get ticked off at bands where I think the singers are singing too much or stepping forward or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I still think of it from wanting to hear the singer be part of the mix instead of stepping all over stuff. So I like if there's a really cool riff going on, especially if it's like a shifting riff, a riff that's kind of shifting, the next thing's coming up, I want to like keep quiet during that and let that happen and stuff. And
I've appreciated that. I think the first album I listened to is Necro-Occlusion. How do you say that? Mm-hmm. And what does it mean?
Yeah, that's right.
That's how you said it. Yeah.
So I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh crap, what did I get into? Because you put out on Facebook, hey, who wants a review? And I'm like, oh, I'll do it. So then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is Gravehuuffer. So I'm putting that album on. And I think I wrote in the article, you guys are like a ghost pepper. Once you bite into that sucker, ghost pepper does not creep up on you. It's just a smack in the face.
Yeah.
And then once I get done with the 100,000 Scoville, then I get that taste of the ghost, and it's like, ooh, I like it. And there's a couple times where you guys, you shift gears, and all of a sudden you do a pure metal riff, and everything just kind of calms down. I find myself going, oh, yeah, this is what, and then back into it. The sense of humor on Necro-Occlusion, I finally picked up on. Wicked sense of humor.
Yeah. The previous vocalist as well.
Yeah, he had a really, he had a sick sense of humor.
James is one of my best friends. We've known each other forever. So it's weird that I replaced like one of my best friends. You know? I already knew all these guys, so that part was easy,
Right.
But yeah, we don't take ourselves too seriously. But even with our funny stuff, we don't want to cash it in lyrically. We want to like take a really strange approach to it, like a satirical approach.
Yeah, it's still clever, Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I felt like the guitar leads were satirical. That the guitar work you're doing is like you're poking fun. And when I finally came across, what is it, Inca Roads Black Sabbath?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell, guys? Did you...
we always wanted to do, I used to always say, dude, I want to do San Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast.
Right.
We're always like, we can't play that.
Yeah.
So we're like, what's something easy that's Zappa that we could do? Like, how about just the intro to Inca Roads? Like, we probably can pull that off.
Right. Yeah. And it almost has like a doomy riff to it. So like it translates to metal a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like metalheads doing Zappa.
Yeah.
Trying to.
Yeah.
So it'd be safe to say I'm not the only metal-splaining dude in the room right now. It came across, it's like, what did they do? Binge on Mother's Acid Temple, taking mushrooms and going,
Right.
Great stuff. So I get this album on, and I'm expecting Necro, like everybody else. I'm not alone in this. Like Elder, I expected Lore Part 2. With King Buffalo, I expected Longing to Be the Mountain Part 2. So here's Gravehuffer, and I think Necro-Occlusion, the sense I get, that was your most successful record to date.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That seriously put you guys on the map and put you on more of the stoner doom side, which...
Yeah,
that kind of surprises me.
That surprised me too.
Yeah.
I guess we keep a groove, even if we're going fast, we have a groove to it. So
yeah. Also, there was more groove in it. So I put this on. I'm expecting it to be Necro Part 2, and it was for like 2 minutes, which is how long your opening is, right?
Right. Yeah.
So which one of you, and I want to go, I don't know if we want to put the audience through everything, but that song in particular, who came up with that one?
that was me.
Really?
All reactor core safeguards are now non-functional. Please prepare for emergency evacuation. All reactor core safeguards are now non-functional. Please prepare for emergency evacuation.
I've always had that idea of I don't know of that title because I way before I had the lyrics for it, like I just kind of had a job and I didn't really like it that much, and I was like every time I get up to go to it, I hated the fact that all my muscle memory was just doing the same thing every day. And it's like, this is taking me to the grave, you know, it's because I'm working way too hard and I'm not enjoying it. And it's like, this is how you die, is by just getting up every day and doing this.
Right.
And it's like the
Did you pick up
routine blueprint for it.
Were you involved in the video footage for the video that you put out?
That was Mike. Mike does the video stuff and all the hard stuff Mike does. And the stuff that saves us thousands of dollars if we had to like hire people.
Right.
Right, because that's a public domain piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metropolis,
like 1927, something like that.
Yeah. So what struck me there is we've heard this story before, right? About working to death. I mean, 9 to 5, take this job and shove it. But I felt like that video kind of brought home that we're not listening. This has been part of art for a long time, but nobody's listening.
Yeah, nobody's learned from it yet.
So you're going to pound it into our heads until we get it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Who is the maniac that came up with Slayberry?
That one that's one of the collaborations.
That's a collaboration.
Yeah. It was his idea, like the whole thing of Andy flipping out, but I've thought the same thing because I'm an Andy Griffith fan, watched it my whole life. And why hasn't he flipped out? He has the stupidest people around him and they rely on him for everything. And so I put it to lyrics. And it's just about him flipping out. But Opie's okay because he went to Mount Pilot to spend night with friends.
He survives. He's the one telling the story.
My son asked me, he was worried about Opie after he heard that song.
Well, and rightfully so. But, we have a little bit of social unrest going on right now with cops kind of losing it. So, so I'm realizing this isn't the typical Gravehuffer, we're going to make you laugh and choke on the ghost pepper at the same time. That I almost, and like I said, I have to talk to you. I didn't want to write this in the review, but I felt like you're kind of commenting a little bit on, the police are going crazy, but look at yourselves, that we could be the people causing the police to go over the edge.
Yeah, I never once thought of it from like the police brutality point of view, but just in a general
you saying that, I think all three of us were like, "Wow, he's right."
He's right, but
because it just happened to be like I saw this episode. I watch Andy Griffith all the time,
right?
So I saw this episode where he's trying to go on a date, and Barney keeps coming to interrupt, and he's out the lake. And I was watching with my brother, and here comes Barney. And I said, "Man," he's going to bury him right next to Gomer over there.
Right.
I was like, he killed Gomer? And I was like, he did in my head. I'm going to straight kill the whole fucking town.
Yeah,
so then I told Travis, I go, dude, it just blew up from there.
Eventually Otis is going to drive you to the point where you just want to choke the fucker out, right?
Yeah. It's generally about, regardless of any of the authority or anything, it's about how ineptitude is going to be our downfall. And soon the people who do have it together, they're going to go down with them because there's more ineptitude than there is.
I feel,
so it's just like
Well, I feel like lately a lot of people seem to be kind of proud of not being educated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what? I don't understand
and this
that
is
mentality.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so it's kind of that too, but it's mostly just fun. It's mostly just from observations we've made from watching Andy Griffith's show, because those guys cost him some good girlfriends.
There's a reason he's still single.
Yeah,
he was single, wasn't he, the whole time?
Yeah, the whole time.
And that
well, he always had a girlfriend, but he never settled on one.
Right.
And he had that sarcastic humor, like he's making fun of him. But Andy turning like that, that's the first moment. When I came home, I looked at the lyrics. Thank you for sending the lyric sheet. And I went, okay, this isn't very funny. Because, and by the way,
dude. I mean, when you do read the lyrics, you're like, holy crap.
Well, it's a man. He's been driven past that point.
Right.
You know
His shoulders can't hold it up anymore.
Yeah, he can't support it anymore.
And the jokes ain't working, and eventually you just give out. So that's when I went, and then I started looking at the other stuff. Who's responsible for the Cryptid and the Iron Bird?
That was his idea.
Yeah.
Jesus effing
he wrote all the
Christ.
Yeah, he wrote all the music on that as his idea, and he always has crazy ideas. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
But I've never told him I can't do that.
Yeah, he always says, okay. And he brings it to the table.
I take it on a challenge to write lyrics that, these aren't supposed to be metal lyrics, but I'm going to make them cool.
Right.
So before I give my 2 cents, what were you thinking when you wrote that? What point are you trying to get across in that, if anything?
Well, I have this. I just made up a story in my head about this creature that's like the song is actually kind of like the Star Wars trilogy. Like, you're hearing part 4 of the story right now. I made up a prequel to it and the end, but I just told Travis the middle, because I was like, that's the part when I started writing the song. I picture sometimes I'll picture a picture in my head, So the song starts out immediate. This thing's running from capture. He's escaping the facility he was in.
Okay.
And so I knew the beginning has to be fast, and it has to go. It has to start heavy or not heavy, but the story has to start quickly and then continue on. But so I had to fill in all the gaps because he was like, at first we're like, oh, he's a interdimensional. What was it? Interdimensional time traveler or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, so I was like, so he has a trap door for everything. We can write him in the Wild West. We can
like he's got a wormhole.
Yeah, wormhole.
Yeah,
like,
so yeah, it's
the government was using him as like a scout to like they'd put him in these wormholes, and he would go and scout and come back, right? And so he was escaping. Like that's a big long pre-story.
That's why
my friend's like, that sounds like a comic book, man.
So when are you gonna write it up?
My way I can fit all this in one song. He's like, so I picked the middle. I was like, let's just do the middle of it, you know.
So when are you gonna get it together, release the comic book companion?
I think that would be really cool.
I mean, it's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
But where I got confused was you're opening with complete Gravehuffer bombast, and then the song does a complete turn.
Yeah.
And my notes, I wrote Yob, Opeth, and Agalok. That those bands have these moments where I don't like death metal, I don't like black metal, but and Yob, I couldn't get past the shrieking, but they have these moments where everything makes sense, and I am sucked into that song. And I've listened to it. I was talking to Newbie Doomer, my girlfriend. I've listened to this album roughly 14 times so far.
Jeez.
Every single time I get hit in the gut at the same place, I go back to the album and listen to it again, and I have a different appreciation. What am I missing as a stoner doom guy? Where would you direct someone to? What other bands do you think capture that same spirit? If that makes any sense, like who do I need to listen to understand who the fuck you are?
That's a lot of bands.
That's a really good question.
I mean, I wrote that by myself, just sitting here right by this table. I just set my phone down, and that change, I knew in my head that this guy, he's escaping.
Right.
But that's the part where he sees his family, right?
Yeah, he's escaping long enough to go back home.
That's why I knew it has to be
no idea where he went.
They got to hit you hard. That this guy finally gets to see his family, or this tribe, or whatever you want to call it. And but he's also doesn't have time to say hi. He knows he's being followed, so he has to tell them, we have to either prepare for war or we have to leave this planet. Right. You know, and so they're in the middle of deciding. They all start falling over from they're being gassed. That's what he's talking about, the fog, and all those people are falling. They're all being gassed, but they don't know what it is. You know, but he does, and so he escapes. Oh no, they gas him too.
Yeah, they gas him too.
He's being carried away.
Yeah, like, he starts going under the spell, and the Iron Bird is the helicopter.
Right.
did
And
you ever see that movie, The Iceman?
They've got him in there, but he thinks he's being held by arms.
You know that movie, The Iceman, with Timothy Hutton? Did you ever see that? Where they found that caveman?
Yeah. When he's running.
Remember how he thought the helicopter was like some god?
Right.
You know? And it like carries him away at the end. That's the scene I had in my head.
Yeah.
when I wrote that part, it's like he's being carried away by this helicopter that he thinks is God. But it's really just a helicopter.
Taking him back to where he escaped from.
Yeah. So he was like all tripping out, like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
Again, I'm glad I didn't write about this in my review, because as a counselor, I used to work on board Camp Lejeune and Headquarters of Marine Corps Quantico. And you're describing PTSD in this song.
Really?
That, yeah, I immediately flashed to the Marines I've worked with who came back from Iraq or from Iran that were rescued by, you know, their medevac out.
Yeah.
In the battlefield. So you wrote this wonderful work of art that, yeah, it's a science fiction story straight out of Starship Troopers or something. But there's such a humanity to it, I thought, that it can be interpreted a whole bunch of different ways.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is
like, your take on everything is so different.
I know.
Yeah.
But it all matches.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of blowing my mind.
It is me too.
If you would have got with us before this, we could have acted like, yeah, we did that on purpose.
But I don't want to, because
you get it.
Yeah, finally.
I want, you know, if there's any one thing that I'm doing is I want to bring more people into the genre. I hear all the time, new music sucks. They don't write them like they used to. Guys my age, boomers, stuck listening to Foreigner, Foghat, maybe. The same one Stick song as if Crystal Ball never happened. And I want to bring more people in it. And being clean and sober stoner, music has a tremendous effect on brain chemistry. So, when you can identify it as something, even if it's wrong, right? We all have our own personal feeling for it. So this is a multi-layer album, except for the last one. I don't think the last one's too open to interpretation. Or there's another one that no interpretation at all. Brainstorm. Who came up with that? Like acoustic and wonderful song.
That was that was the acoustic thing. Like, we don't do that very much, so that was pretty cool. Like,
I can think of it as acoustic guitar.
Chains are Book of Enoch and Chains.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right.
But not near being featured like it is on this song, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's just a song about. I mean, it's real personal to me, like lyric wise. But you were talking about music and brain chemistry. You know, I don't think I would have been able to get through the whole pandemic if it weren't for music. You know,
right.
It was rough on my mental, you know, stability or whatever you want to call it. You know, and I was having some tough times with depression and stuff, and so that's kind of where that came from. But the song ultimately is coping with it and trying to just move on with your life and not wallow in it. And that's part of the reason why it's got kind of a major key kind of vibe to it, because there's supposed to be hope. See a clear path. It find existence to be worthy, which again feeds into my interpretation of the Cryptid and the Iron Bird. It's like, oh man, this is some deep stuff. But then who came? Go murder, pray, and die.
That's a song that one of my old punk bands did, and the guy named Caleb Pruitt wrote that. That's a song from like '95 the crust band I was in. So it's like crusty. We're like, dude, this kind of fits the times. And I just always loved that song.
Yep.
And one of the singers from that band, he sings on it with Travis.
Okay.
And he also plays Blueprint, right?
Yeah, he's the second vocals on Blueprint.
Yeah.
The chorus.
The chorus, yeah.
I guess we call it that.
So yeah, straight ahead. Not a lot open to interpretation there.
Yeah.
But a lot of anger on your part. Again, this isn't a fun album, right? Well, okay. You know what I mean. We're not going to be listening to that for the comic snicker, for the because it just seems to me you really made yourselves vulnerable in a way.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
We do we lay it on the line with it because it's such an outlet, and it's like sometimes you don't know how to deal with other people throughout your daily life, but you have to try. And so getting all of the crap out of you in that avenue is a safe place to call it like spewing honesty, you just,
that was me last night.
Even if it doesn't even if it isn't I don't know, even if it's not pretty, even if it's not how in the end you'd think, sometimes it's an immediate thing, it's just, I don't know. It would take it. We're too old, and we're not in a genre that's going to make us rich. So we might as well do it exactly how we want to do it, and do it for us. Do it for something that we would want to hear.
Yep.
Something that we feel good doing about it. And yeah, hope that wasn't too long winded.
Oh no, that's what I live for. So as far as getting rich and all that, I think that it stands for that, this isn't going to be a Billboard top 10. You're probably not going to have people on The Masked Singer, singing a Gravehuuffer song.
Yeah.
Although that'd be a great parody, wouldn't it?
That would be hilarious. Got to sign up for that.
Yeah.
But you are aware the buzz for this album is pretty elevated.
Yeah,
Tommy, at first we were real worried about it because we're like, it's a little different. We don't want to scare. It's the stuff we had to get off our chests.
Right.
Like these things that we're like, okay, we need to wipe the slate clean. We always wanted to do this. Let's do that. We've been talking about this. Let's get that done.
Right.
So now the slate is clean, and we're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
But Tommy, when he heard it, he said, "Oh, I feel like I watched a death metal movie." And he said, or he told me, he goes, "You might lose some fans." He goes, "But you're going to gain a bunch more." And Tommy usually calls it right. So I don't know. That's what worried me. I thought, I don't want our fans to think we're selling out or anything.
Right. Or we're a prog band now or whatever.
We didn't get paid shit for
Yeah.
We recorded, we did everything ourselves. We really promote the DIY thing. I mean, if you want to do it bad enough, you can do it.
Right.
Or you got friends that can help you do it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do something dangerous. I'll disagree with Tommy Stewart. I don't think you're going to lose fans. I think you're going to introduce your fans into different things.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
Where, I can see where someone, especially I'll keep going back to Cryptid and of course, Depart So Much Evil, as being just for me being a Doom guy. I can't imagine losing fans on this because you haven't tamed anything down. You haven't toned it down. It's not like Opeth, you went from death metal to now you're doing prog with the flute player.
70s prog. Right.
Yeah, with the flute player from Vandergrift Generator, which is great. Much respect.
Oh yeah, dude. That was a good album, but it was a weird experience.
Right.
Right. I listened to Opeth for Blackwater Park, damn it. If I want to hear Fairport Convention, I've got the albums, I can pull it up. So, Depart from So Much Evil. Dante's Inferno, really? I mean, that's I'm like, good God.
Well, it's the whole series, all three of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how did that develop? I'm assuming one person didn't take this task on and go with it. So the process of creating 22 minutes with the heaviest psychedelia. I mean that that one break where it's just like,
We were returning. Keep fast thy hold, for by such stairs as these must we perforce depart from so much evil.
how in the hell did you guys put that together?
Well, that particularly was we posted if fans want to send in screams and they sent in screams in the link, and Mike mixed them into it all like this gelatin of confusion and pain, like. So that a lot of that came from, and Tommy was on it, and Dennis Reed was on it, and there's a lot of
There's a lot of guests on different
ear
stuff.
candy on there.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's
But
a
at
ton.
first, like, I wanted to try. I tried to do Dante before, but we're doing it by each level of hell and this noise band I was in. And it's always been a story I loved, and the guy does our artwork. It's a story he loves too, and so we always talked about it. We just didn't know how to pull it off. So when we had the was during COVID, right?
Yeah, it was after we got done recording.
Yeah, so we had like a lot of time to kill. So we started. I said we started kicking the idea around. Then we're like, how are we going to do Purgatory? And that's when we came up with, hey, we should tell all the people we know to send screams in, and we'll just mix it in.
Right.
And then the hell part was easy. It's like it's just got to be fast and brutal.
Right.
The paradise part was the hardest part because we're like, how do we write about heaven or being in love or about love? It's not about heaven. It's mainly about the feeling of love.
Yeah, the act of trying to going through that all, trying to find love. That act itself is love in action in the first place.
But it's like, how do you write heavy music about love? So it's like that was the hardest part.
Right.
Yeah,
getting past that word.
Yeah,
and being like, okay, let's just write the fucking music,
right,
and let Travis worry
about yeah, that's I think that ended up being like 6 pages of lyrics by the time I was done.
But he mainly wrote it like from what Dante was thinking.
Yeah, I did.
So it's not really the story of Dante's the trilogy.
The story's been told over and over again. This is more like the emotional part of his journey and why he's even doing this, and when he gets to heaven, it's the part that made it where it could still be intense is like in the poem, he's terrified when he's in heaven too,
right?
Because he's not knowing if he's worthy enough to be there, and there's light everywhere,
there's weird,
and he can never
beings.
Yeah, right. And he can never like focus on God. He knows God's coming from this direction.
It's like the sun,
but he can't look at him directly. And he was there originally to find Beatrice because in all of his despair in life and confusion, the only thing that he held on to that he knew was true is that he loved Beatrice, even though he knew her for such a short time and before she passed and everything. And when he gets there and he sees her and it changes, like he starts finding out what love really is, and she helps him see that. Like he doesn't leave with her or anything like that. But I think like the whole,
it's like he wasn't looking for her.
Yeah,
he was looking for that feeling,
And I think it also says that even if you never like figure it out, as long as you're always trying to learn on the behalf of you getting better or whatever, that's enough, like I don't know. It was hard to understand because it was 1500s Italian poem that was translated to English but kept as a poem because it was the Whittier Greenleaf. Was it Greenleaf that did the
I'm not sure.
That one, and I may have messed up who translated it.
It was a tougher one.
It
The
was
other
a
one's a
tougher
bit
one,
more
but
like
it
a
was just
story.
like, and I actually had to go online and read people's essays about it to understand all of it, and then I go back and read it. But I read that thing. I'm like, I can't even tell you how many times I had that thing, and then my notebook like with me everywhere I went for a long time. It was definitely like draining to do, but like it worked out because we're not religious people. I was raised religious, but didn't really stick with it.
Right. Same
and
here.
so it's hard to write about heaven from the non-evangelical point of view, you know. Luckily, the poem was written before a lot of that started. Like, it was so long ago that they still thought heaven was part of space. They still thought there was something that there was a certain distance there that you could get to it. And so it's kind of, he always talked about it more as light. And he didn't like say God that much in there. And I don't know. What I got from it anyway was him learning that loving and searching for love and going to the lengths for somebody or something you love. That part right there is love itself. And the God part of it's kind of like the compass to measure it all from, like, because some people need to have a source that they just can't live with the fact that you don't know. So if you put it as light, it's like more of a general goodness without you having to make any definite decisions about what it is. But it's definitely something that makes you want to love, you know, and that's what he learned on this. I know I probably made it more confusing. That's kind of how I went through doing it. It was like a process where I'm always changing my mind. Like, no, he's thinking this, you know. And
that's a lot to wrestle with.
Yeah.
It boils down to don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Well, it does.
Say that.
Was putting Go Murder, Pray, and Die before that deliberate?
Honestly, yeah. Because we wanted it to be a palate cleanser. Beforehand, we had Brainstorm as the end of the side, but we thought maybe as like from a sound standpoint, we had to put just a straightforward one between those two,
something to like wake you up a little bit.
Because because Depart has like 2.5 minutes of cello, so then you have a mellow song and then 2.5 minutes of cello. We didn't, because we kept thinking it was two sides, but we were like, no, people are gonna be listening to this on CD. So it's going to be one constant listen.
I think it was mainly my friends that I had played it for.
Yeah, they were the ones that
they would say, I don't think you should have those two songs together.
It's like a lull, you know.
And they're like, you got to put something in there to wake you back up. And I'm like, well, this song will.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think the sequencing was Travis's, if I remember right.
Because that one, and then it does work out like well, audibly was the first reason, but the reason why it was that one and not like Slayberry or, you know, because we thought about Slayberry. Blueprint was for sure was going to be the first one because of the sample and the way it leads in and everything.
Yeah.
Was the whole fuck religion. Okay, our next song is going to be about almost embracing it.
Well, but I think that's what you did, and you did really effectively, because Brainstorm is the questioning, the pain of being human. And then I can see where, you know, and again, reading too much into it, that Go Murder, Pray, and Die, that is a solution to feeling isolated, is get caught up into a religious, almost a fanatical,
right.
And then to depart from so much evil ties back into Cryptid with my PTSD war thing, that it just kind of, it just kind of worked. And I could imagine a college student writing an essay and saying, you know, the artist intended this. I think it's the movie Back to School when Rodney Dangerfield hires Kurt Vonnegut to write his essay, and he gets a C because he
got like a bad grade. He got a bad grade.
So, that's right. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I will overanalyze and find these things, but you put an album out that, in my opinion, the listener can take away from it wherever they're at in their life. They can do it. Huge effect on me. But I'm scared about one thing. You're saying that this isn't indicative of your future direction. I said in the review, I hope the fuck you change your mind.
Well, it's never going to be. We probably will never be one anybody's expecting.
We don't know.
Yeah.
It's just most of the time, a song will be like, if we're in a bad mood or if we're in a good mood, that just happened to be like, there's this other side project that we do, that me and Travis do, and it's like Tangerine Dream. It's real spacey, weird stuff, and that mode, like I've been doing that since before this band.
Yeah,
you know, I've been making noise and weird stuff before this band, and so I always kept that separate. I didn't want that creeping into Gravehuffer, you know. So when we were doing the Dante thing, towards the end, I was like, "Hey, I hear this." And that was my first test. We're sitting there mixing, and I said, "I'm hearing something right here," and I put some keyboards in it. And I go, "If you guys hate it, we can take it out." And I played it for them, and they're like, "No, I like that." So I was like, "Put a little bit more here and a little bit more there," and then they're like, "Oh, let's do this and do that."
Yeah.
Then we really cut the tethers off, and we're like, "I can put noise in here, and it doesn't affect the great." People won't go, "Well, that's not Gravehuffer."
Yeah,
it's not Gravehuffer.
I mean, we're still,
but it's still
Gravehuffer.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, his bass to me is the guy wire. Whenever stuff starts getting ethereal and stuff, that it hangs on. Like whenever after Purgatory's over and it starts going into the really pretty, with the and then Paradise and in the background, it's just way pretty, and you're like, is this Gravehuuffer? And then you hear off in the coming over the hill over here. Yeah, that's Gravehuuffer. Right. And you're just waking up, so fucking.
Even though it's a cool melody, it's still like,
it's still distorted. Yeah, that's what Tommy said. He's like, "It sounds like Chris Squire, man." I was like, "Whoa."
Well, not for nothing. Yeah, it kind of does. But I don't think you're at risk of opening for Dream Theater anytime soon.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
we're only progressive in concept. We don't, not really in the. I always kind of crack me up how progressive means like moving forward, but they've got their own formulas that everybody goes by, or a lot of people go by. You know?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of weird.
I think it is like you said. More people will be open to other music by going, "Oh, this is fucked up. But I might like some other weird shit too."
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I think that's creeping into the stoner doom scene. I'm seeing more and more bands calling themselves progressive doom, progressive stoner doom. I wish they'd get rid of the term progressive, because it immediately I'd rather go to a comic book convention than go to a progressive chat room where they're arguing about which Peter Gabriel album was the best.
Yeah,
and
when they're all good,
and they're so into it. I don't think, but you did bring in an element that I think even someone like Steven Wilson would agree. You moved whatever you're doing, you moved it forward.
Yeah.
And I personally am hoping that you've opened the door. I mean, we still need the 1:45 Gravehuuffer special.
Yeah.
That's what we're coming for. That's why we buy it. But, if every now and then, that would be awesome. Like I said, you've put out an album that I know the year's early, but I know for a fact it'll be on my top 10 at the very least for 2023. I think, I really do think this is going to get picked up by a lot of other people, and it's going to move you forward. And best of luck to you. Best of luck to the label.
Thanks, man.
And everything else. Is there anything I haven't asked about that you really want to get across?
We appreciate your time and all the work you do.
Oh yeah, man.
Because that's like we were talking about before, this being like a symbiotic thing, it's like helps the world go around, or our world, the underground world.
Right.
Yeah, like you're talking about before, there's no good, people think there's no good music. Well, they need to go check out their local band, because a lot of times we go to a town and play, there's at least one local band.
And they're like,
And some of them
amazing.
blow our minds, dude,
yeah.
how good these bands are.
Mhm.
right. It's like, why are they not?
We saw this one band, they're called, I'm always talking about them, the Tantivy. Where are they from?
Wausau, Wisconsin.
They're from Wisconsin.
Wausau,
They sound like, to me, I was like, Thin Lizzy meets Motorhead.
Okay.
But
so twin guitar leads with
so
fucking
loud and
awesome,
so in
dude.
your face.
I
And
told
it was
Rich,
only like their 5th show.
Yeah.
And they had this humongous crowd.
yeah, I told Rich, I go, I wish I could afford to like put a comp together that's called like bands you've never heard unless you went to their town.
Like people we played with. you
Yeah,
know.
I just told people that we play with and be like, we're putting out a comp, we're gonna put everybody on it.
Right.
I wish I had a bunch of money. I put out a bunch of albums.
Right, dude. Yep.
well, you
And
do,
we appreciate that you really listened to this and got into it.
Yeah, it sounds like
Right.
you dug in.
Your questions have been amazing.
Yeah.
I've listened to it in my Toyota Prius, on these headphones, on earbuds, on my iPhone, on my highest end rig. Every way I cut it, it's just fantastic.
Nice.
And it's still Gravehuffer, but it's one of those albums that really has changed how I approach things, how I'm listening to things.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I
I
appreciate
think
That's
that.
why. That's like
That made it worth it
satisfaction
right there.
Yeah, that
There's
made it
one
worth it
person,
right
Yeah.
like you totally get it. You're just like all over it. So that makes it worth it.
It really does.
All the
and
hard work.
hopefully dozens and dozens of other people.
Yes.
Wrestling fans?
Yeah.
Oh, back in the day,
Yeah.
my cousins would watch it. I'd see it when I'd go back home to visit.
You know,
Make
I'm
a
thinking,
song about Andre
Well,
the Giant.
we got the song about Andre.
Andre the Giant was always my favorite.
Yeah.
yep. Hey, maybe someday I'll get a bunch of rock artists together and we'll do one of those group viewings of a WWE pay-per-view.
Nice.
Oh, like a reaction,
Yeah.
reaction video, but kind of, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Man, I've been wanting to do like a Family Feud, but for bands.
Okay. Like right now,
That's all the bands, all the questions, Then that's how like people that aren't in bands
Right.
compete.
Yeah.
Like, what's the number one eaten thing on tour? SpaghettiOs, I can. Ramen.
write it up. I'm going to keep this in the interview. It takes a while. I can't put in links yet or anything because I'm so
Yeah, no
brand
problem.
new. But hey, who knows? We might have just started a new cultural phenomenon right here, Clean and Sober Stoner, with Gravehuffer. Guys, you've been amazing. It's everything I could ask for. You were just great. So really appreciate it. Good luck. I'm thinking,
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
what date does the album drop officially?
February 17th,
On
3
my-
days after Valentine's Day.
On Michael Jordan's birthday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, you just got all the North Carolina basketball fans. So I'll